Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into another game performance test on our trusty low-end PC. This time, it's CarX Street. Now, I know some of you are out there wondering, can this game run on my potato of a PC without a graphics card? Well, sit tight because I've put CarX Street through its paces on my i3 machine with integrated graphics. We're talking about 720p, low settings, and that sweet spot between 20 to 30 FPS. It might not sound like much, but you'd be surprised at what this little beast can do or not do. So, buckle up and let's hit the road. Alright, so let's talk settings. I cranked down every graphical setting to rock bottom. Resolution, 720p, graphics, low. So low, I could hear my PC whisper, "Thank you." But even then, CarX Street managed to squeeze out a somewhat playable 20 to 30 FPS. I'd say it's like trying to run a marathon with flip-flops. Not ideal, but hey, you can still make it to the finish line. The game has a mobile game vibe at these settings, but if you're used to older or less powerful hardware, you'll feel right at home. Sure, the visuals aren't going to win any awards, but when your graphics card is, well, non-existent, we take what we can get. The real issue, however, is the controls. Now, I'm not saying they're the worst. They're just janky. Picture this. You're in a race, you're nailing those corners, and suddenly, your car handles like it's trying to imitate a shopping cart with a broken wheel. Yes, it's awkward. Yes, it's frustrating. But considering the game is still more playable than NFS Unbound was on this rig, I'll call that a win, a very small, slightly underwhelming win. Now, let's get into the meat of it. The gameplay. At its core, CarX Street tries to deliver an engaging arcade racing experience. But there are quite a few bumps on the road that we need to talk about. The first thing that hits you, besides the somewhat frustrating controls, is the game's economy. It feels like every single thing in CarX Street costs credits. We're talking about fuel, tires, joining clubs, repairs, you name it. Want to fill up that tank after a few races? That'll be over 6,000 credits. Need new tires because the old ones are worn out from trying to drift around the city? That's another 4,500 credits. Oh, and don't even get me started on car upgrades. They're practically a mortgage payment in this game's economy. You see where I'm going with this? It's like the game wants you to experience what it's like to pay rent, bills, and groceries. Except it's all for a virtual car. This excessive cost structure almost makes it feel like CarX Street is more of a financial management simulator than a racing game. You're constantly calculating whether you can afford that next race, or if you should save up for the inevitable repairs after the AI rams into you. And then there's the grind. Oh boy, the grind. You're looking at winning close to 100 races just to move up a few levels or earn enough credits to make significant progress. It's like they thought, hey, let's make a racing game feel like an endless chore list. This is made worse by the fact that some races require a specific car rating to even participate, which is a whole separate metric from your car's class. This means that even if you have the right class of car, if you haven't dumped enough credits into performance upgrades to meet the rating requirements, you're out of luck. And let's not forget the issue of buying the wrong car or parts. If you mess up and buy a vehicle that doesn't fit the bill or invest in parts that aren't optimal for the required races, congratulations. You've just made your playthrough infinitely harder. The game's not forgiving when it comes to mistakes, and there's no easy way to recoup your losses without grinding even more. Then we have the AI racers. Forget about having a fair race. These guys play bumper cars while you're trying to race. They're relentless and aggressive, making you feel like you're on the bumper car track at an amusement park rather than in a competitive street race. And guess who's always on the losing end? That's right, you. They're practically impossible to smash or push out of the way. But the second they tap you, it's like your car transforms into a frisbee and goes flying. It's incredibly frustrating and often leads to moments where you want to throw in the towel. This uneven physics engine where AI cars seem to have the mass of a tank while your car feels like a feather in comparison really detracts from the overall experience. And let's not forget the rubber banding issue. It's like the AI cars have a magical catch-up feature that kicks in just when you think you've got a comfortable lead, making it almost impossible to secure a win unless you're perfect with every corner, every drift, every break. But for all its flaws, CarX Street does have some redeeming qualities that make it worth considering, especially for racing fans who are willing to overlook its rough edges. Let's give credit where it's due. The city setting and car details are surprisingly decent, especially for a game made by a small, indie team. The developers clearly put in a lot of effort into crafting an open-world city that feels alive, with various environmental elements and different terrains that you race across. It's not trying to be Forza or Need for Speed, and we shouldn't expect that level of polish. The game leans more towards arcade-style racing than a drifting sim, and once you get the hang of the controls and survive the steep learning curve, it can be a surprisingly good time. The game's emphasis on performance and handling upgrades adds a layer of depth and strategy that might appeal to hardcore car enthusiasts who enjoy tweaking and fine-tuning their virtual vehicles for optimal performance. However, there are still plenty of issues that need addressing, like the AI that seems to have the mass and durability of a tank, and the voice acting that makes me wish I could turn it off permanently. The game's dialogue and voice acting often feel awkward and forced, detracting from the immersive experience they're clearly trying to create. Sometimes, it's so bad that it's unintentionally funny, like a B-movie that's trying too hard to be serious. I found myself chuckling at moments that were supposed to be tense or dramatic simply because of how offbeat the voice delivery was. And speaking of tuning, can we please unlock it earlier in the game? Waiting forever to adjust specific parameters is like being handed a toolbox and told, you can't use this until you've built the entire house. It's frustrating for players who want to get into the nitty-gritty of car customization early on and make the most of their racing strategies. Giving more control to players from the beginning would not only enhance the gameplay experience, but also make it feel less restrictive and grind-heavy. All in all, CarX Street has the foundation of a good arcade racing game. It's got potential, it's got charm, and it's got that addictive just one more race vibe, if you can look past its glaring issues. The developers need to fine-tune the gameplay mechanics, adjust the AI behavior, and make the game less punishing in terms of its economy and upgrade system. If they manage to do that, CarX Street could very well become a solid title in the indie racing game scene. So, what's the final verdict? Is CarX Street the racing game to satisfy your need for speed on a low-end PC? Well, it depends on how patient you are. If you're okay with a few bumps in the road, some questionable design choices, and a bit of grind that feels more like a second job, then sure, give it a shot. The game is far from perfect, and it needs some love and attention from its developers to iron out the kinks. But if you're looking for something more polished, you might want to wait and see if they roll out some updates. I'd say, for a $20 game from a small developer, it's got heart. It's just a little rough around the edges. Kind of like an unpolished gem that's still stuck in the rock. So, I'm cautiously optimistic. Let's hope they fine-tune this bad boy in the future, and maybe, just maybe, we'll have a solid 8 out of 10 game on our hands. And that's a wrap. Thanks for sticking around, folks. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe for more low-end PC game reviews, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Got a game you want me to test on this potato? Drop it in the comments below. Until next time, keep gaming, keep laughing, and keep pushing the limits of what these low-end PCs can do. Catch you in the next one. Enjoy the rest of the gameplay.